Let's talk a little bit about the main event. We're finally here. It's Undertaker, Mark Calloway, against Undertaker, Brian Lee. They've got a 7-minute ring entrance with Paul Bear coming out alone. And then the coffin that the real Undertaker was buried in at Royal Rumble is wheeled out, and there's some hooded men that look like they made a wrong turn.
Druids.
There you go. In the casket is actually a giant urn. And when Paul Bear opens the urn, there's a nice little thunder and lightning show. And finally, the real Undertaker shows up. The special effects were really, really good. And it was done with perfect timing, where as soon as it finishes, the bell rang. And here we go. Brian Lee versus Mark Calloway. It gets -1 star in the Observer. It's not well reviewed. People didn't love the execution. The storyline was intriguing, but the match, maybe they felt like was, well, Wade called it a gigantic letdown. What did you think?
It was, because it was robbed of its time. In order to set the stage for the match, you needed more time up front to do the mirror, Groucho Marx stuff and mirroring each other's moves and what have you, so that you could get lost in it a little bit. All that was rushed and a lot of it taken out. So you got into a match, and the Brian Lee Undertaker was not able to really get any heat because there just wasn't time, and it turned into a squash match. And Brian, they had this match in their head, and they had actually worked it out to the point that mirror stuff, doing each other's stuff back and forth, was a big part of that match. And when you take that away, look, Brian wasn't the worker that could adapt in the ring as easily as Mark could, and it showed. And it wasn't good in that regard, because they were trying to move and change on a dime in there, and it was all the real Undertaker doing that versus the $1 Million Man's Undertaker. So no, it stunk. It really stunk. But it was not the fault, in my opinion, of the two guys in the ring. I think it was the fault of not having enough time to tell that story properly, and for them to have the platform to work for what the show was built up to be. That part of it is a shame, because I think that they could have done something really special there.
Do you think part of it may have been the Undertaker persona is like this slow, plodding, methodical character, and that works in a match when you got one guy going normal speed and one guy slowing sort of the horror movie speed, if you will. But when two guys are doing it, is that too much? Does it take you out of it? Does it feel boring or less than?
But see, that's the issue, is that it was to tell a story, to start off that way, and then
pick it up.
The real Undertaker to pick it up and go to a new level that you've never seen before. You didn't get that. You didn't get the build. You didn't get any of that. All you got was the crap. And it just wasn't good. Just not good, man.
Wade would say the limits placed on the Undertaker character were never more clear than at SummerSlam. It's time for Vince McMahon to loosen the reins on the Undertaker's in-ring character and let Calloway show off more of his skills and turn up the energy level now and then. Wade would say, when Todd Pettengill was hyping the SummerSlam Encore show, he said how the crowd was going crazy during the Undertaker match, crazy with boredom. Speaking of that match, apparently the Hart match went much longer than expected, and at the last second, Lee and Calloway were told to cut their 15-minute match down to just 8 minutes. The two had worked out a match, and with the cut, didn't adapt well, and they were rushing to get their spots in. So I know that you're not a big Dave Meltzer fan, but boy, he had a scoop here. He nailed it. I don't remember ever hearing that match had been cut for time until you said it, except for this one little line in the Observer. Boy, it changed the whole freaking main event and presentation.
Absolutely. Really did.
And it maybe changed the upward trajectory of Brian Lee, because it was both in the Torch and the Observer that, okay, this Undertaker thing is dead, but he'll be back with a new gimmick and a new name. It'll be a biker persona, and that's correct. But this was 94, and that didn't happen until 97. This is his last match in the company for 3 years. He comes back in June of 97, But from August of 94 to June of 97, he gone. In an alternate universe, if they had the full match, do you think that Brian Lee would have had an opportunity to stick around as that biker gimmick, or was he on his way out no matter what?
He was already on his way out.
Okay.
Really would have had to blow people away, and just he, for numerous reasons, he was on his way out.
Around the same time, Brian Lee, as the Undertaker, wound up in a Bollywood movie, wrestling and then killing Crush. Did you hear about that? Did you know about this?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about Brian Lee portraying the Undertaker in a Bollywood movie.
Oh yeah. I don't think he ever did that again after that.
You don't like Brian Lee worth a damn, do you?
No, I do like Brian Lee. That's what I said when I said he doesn't know how to get out of his own way.
I got you.
His decisions are not really that good. You know, him doing stupid shit like this is where it's like, dude, you know, hello? Because you're not only doing it where it's wrong and everything else, but you're also screwing over one of your best friends. The guy that brought you to the dance. And you're screwing him over. So, you know, it's just like, God, come on, dude. Buy a clue somewhere. Go to Clues R Us. Buy yourself one.
When the buy rate comes in, it's down from the prior year's WrestleMania. That's not a shock, but there's $488,000 at the gate. That makes it the 10th largest live house in the history of U.S. wrestling. Easily, it's going to be the second highest of the year behind WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden in North America. So there's about 20,000 paid, so maybe 3,000 comps or so. But on the other side of this, business is down. Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum, and the Meadowlands do 4,300, 2,500, and 2,000, perceived to be all-time lows. Do you remember coming out of SummerSlam and seeing some of these live event results? I mean, the idea that you got Madison Square Garden and there's 4,300 people in it, boy, you lost money on that show. I mean, there's no other way to say that. On the one hand, going into SummerSlam, hey guys, we got Domino's, we got Paramount, we got a big buy-in. We're going to use the United Center. We're going to have 20,000 people there. On the other side, we're limping along, and this Undertaker thing that we thought, I know you said is going to be a one-off. Did you already have something in mind? Like, here's where we're going next, and here's our next moonshot.
We did. You know, look, it was a sign of the times, and it was a sign of, okay, well, maybe this bread experiment isn't working. Maybe we need to do something new, which we did, and we did pivot. But yeah, business was not great by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, it's discouraging when you're sitting there, you're banging your head against the walls, and you just keep, you know, you got to just keep fighting and keep moving forward and doing what you can and try to adjust and make better. But it was, yeah, business wasn't great.